Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome from the Austrian American Society. My name is Rainer Newald. I'm here the General Secretary, and I'm very happy to have you all with us here and all the people here with us in our club rooms here in the Vienna city center. Yes, today we are discussing in the first topic, and when you think about it, quite sophisticated topic, but I hope after this hour of discussion, I think we have all a clear view about what will be the title today. It's Illuminating Resilience, Climate Tech Solutions for a Changing World. Welcome all of you. We have a very high-level panel today. I'm very happy about that. First of all, I want to say hi to all our guests here and also our partners who made this evening today possible. This is Floodlight. Floodlight, a company who gives us the competence today and gives us an input about the topic I mentioned before. On the second, ORF, the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, who is covering this over a radio, FM4, and we are happy to have afterwards people who are listening to this, and because the people from FM4 are very interested in that, and also hello from us. And last but not least, our moderator, Katharina Amadi, she's from Environomics, and I'm very happy that they are here because she's one of the most experienced women in this field, and she is today moderating this evening. Yes, and now I want to say hi to our guests on the panel, and first I want to say hi to our friends from Global, from Floodlight Global. This is Nate Wyne. This is Professor Suchi Gopal. Thanks for coming. Perhaps an applause for them. Then we have Dudu Gencel. She is Teamlead Startup City from the Vienna Business Agency. Then we have, hello, nice to meet you. Then we have Christoph Sandler. He is from the Stadtwerke Amstetten, who will also share his experiences with this topic then afterwards. And last but not least, Anita Malli. She's from the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, ORF, and she's head of the Sustainability Department. Thanks to everybody here. And now, very last but not least, the technical information for all of you, for the people who didn't have time to be on time here with us or to listen, are late here listening. We have the stream, and we have it also on demand on our YouTube channel, and you can watch it afterwards. And we have an interactive discussion, the interactive event in a discussion process. So here, please, everybody who wants to have a question, and please raise the hand. And online, please, write it in the commentary function. And then afterwards, I will hand over the questions to the moderator and the podium. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for being here. And I hand over to our moderator, Katharina Amadi. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Rainer. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your interest in this very interesting, very important topic. So let's give it some thoughts, why we are here tonight and why are we talking about this. It's about climate adaptation. So the thing with climate change, it's very often discussed politically, and of course there are some issues with the word and the phrase per se. So the political center of all the efforts we are doing right now is climate mitigation, how we reduce the emissions to prevent further damage. But tonight will be about climate change adaptation. So how do we deal with what's already have been done? Yeah, we already are facing extreme weather disasters, and we're also facing the consequences. We're talking about blackouts, we're talking about disruptions in a global supply chain. And I will quote the World Economic Forum, who is accordingly estimating a damage for the economy, a loss from about 650 billion annually due to natural disasters. So that are quite some numbers, and it's important. So we didn't talk about yet about our health, the humans who are living on this planet, who also have to adapt to whatever heats are coming, to whatever extreme weathers are coming along. So what can we do with that? The first thing is we have to make decisions. We have to make smart and informed decisions. How do we get informations? How do we get data? So this is something we will talk about tonight, because right now there's a lot of innovation going on in this very sector, and it's a very nice thing, because we need this information. We need to know what's coming, and we need to know how do we face all of the climate risks, climate changes, and how we really adapt it. And therefore, I will be very happy to ask you some questions. You will give us some insights, because you're the people who really know how it's done, and I'm really glad to start with, you, Nate, and you, Suchi. And let's get to the question. I'm sorry, we have it here. Floodlights models really heavily on satellite data, but what catastrophic risks might your algorithm miss? So what about the work that someone would do, not relying on satellite data, but doing some groundwork like old school climate analysis? So is there any black spot you would like miss or something?
Yeah, great question. So ground truthing, as Dr. Gopal has taught me, is very much a science in itself that really adds a whole lot more context to what we can see from a satellite. And there's really no way to replace the truth you can learn from the ground with just a satellite. The clients that I think we've made the most progress with, and the ones that are most innovative in how they're approaching this, see the benefit of having both. I think most of the clients that we are approaching today think that everything has to be done on the ground, which is helpful, but incredibly expensive if you're doing a full footprint. And for, I would say, probably upper 90% of the emissions that we track and the climate risks we look at, you can see the trend really clearly from a satellite. You don't need to go to the expense of an on-the-ground assessment. You can do it 100 times a year with the satellites that exist, rather than just saying, great, we're going to have somebody walk out with a sensor on the ground each time. But what would you say, Suchi?
So I would say that that's true. We do need a lot of ground observations and a lot of knowledge of experts that can be incorporated. So if I'm using something like an AI algorithm based on all the satellite data, I still need what's called a lot of training data in order to train these models to make the right prediction. So expertise and ground experts and ground validation is critical in whatever you do, not just for ground truthing, but also improving the quality of what the satellite is seeing. And remember, satellites come at multiple spatial resolutions. One satellite looks at the Earth at very coarse scale, right, at a 1 kilometer scale. One satellite, the newer satellites, especially from the EU or Sentinel, are looking at 10 meters and even below 10 meters. If I have the money, I could fly a drone, 30 centimeter resolution. So it is quite possible, but what we are using is playing with the idea of cost and the idea of accuracy. So when you look at the trade-off, how much money do you want to spend and what's the accuracy, that's the cutoff. And based on that, I would make a decision. As you know, for all sort of weather-related things and climate-related things, we are not very accurate to the sub-meter resolution. It's not a military application, right? For military applications, we need sub-meter. And so I leave it there, and I look forward to your questions.
So I have already a question. So we also will welcome in a few minutes Christoph Sandler from Stadtwerke Amstetten. And he will tell us maybe something, but facilities like his, they will do, as you just said, investments based on information. So why is this necessary? Why would I care when I do an investment in my company or city, wherever? Why would I even look at climate data? Why is it interesting? And yeah, when you think about it, when you think about catastrophes we had already with ÖBB and Wiener Linien last year, so we still are paying for that. So there might be a reason why you should take a look on your investments further when you do especially system relevant infrastructure. We're also talking about blackout prevention. That's a thing. We saw it in Spain. It's also a very actual topic right now. So when someone is trying to make a decision, thinking about building up or improving the infrastructure, make it weather-proof, climate-proof, why relying on your data? Why relying on AI data? Why? So I think, do your scientists, are they able to see how the data points, the climate points are really weighted for the decision they make? Why trust them?
I mean, one of the things that I think would connect me to Dudu on this as well is Austria, I think, has a really long and strong history of protecting its natural resources and creating a beautiful place to live. And so for us, a lot of the approaches that we've taken is actually taking an actual measurement. So replacing what's really well-intentioned and very intelligent guesses and replacing that with an actual measurement. There's really no substitute for that. I think about it as an example, like with my kids. If they come back from school with a test result and I say, how did you do? And they say, pretty good. That's very different than handing me a report card that actually shows the numbers of how they performed. But I think most of our industry is happy with people grading themselves and saying, I'm pretty good, move on, nothing to see here. That's been my impression. And Vienna, I think, is ideally situated. A lot from how I first met Dudu was saying, we really want to be the world's most livable city, and you can't do that without measurements. It can't just be, I think it's great here.
It's great here, but true that we still have work to do, and it's a constant effort we have to do here. So talking about efforts and also talking about those who are helping. Yeah, matchmakers, we're not talking about love, but we're talking about client tech innovations. So you are, I quoted, a launchpad for climate tech innovators. What unique infrastructure or network do you provide startups that can't be found elsewhere in Central Europe? Why you?
I mean, Nate already gave some very good reasons. Maybe a little bit context for all of you who haven't been working or who haven't engaged with Vienna Business Agency before. As you can tell by the name, we work for the business location Vienna. We are a service provided by the city of Vienna, and we work with all kinds of businesses, all sizes of businesses, and are not singular, not only focused on climate tech companies, to be very straightforward, but of course, climate is a topic which is very dear to our heart, and we put a lot of effort into creating different programs in order to support climate-relevant solutions. We create a lot of awareness around that topic, and we also make use of partners like the Klimaakademie, for example, in order to also develop internally with knowledge about climate, because if we want to leverage the power of the business location, we as organization, we also have to do our homework. What stands out in the CEE region, I would say, is first of all an entity like Vienna Business Agency, who's very easy to access and gives you a first intro into the ecosystem of Vienna. So we are very approachable, so everyone who wants to start the company in Vienna can access us and get some guidance and will be connected to relevant partners of the ecosystem in their respective fields. So if it's climate tech, then it's climate relevant actors. And then of course we see ourselves also as facilitators. So we work hand in hand with different stakeholders from the ecosystem in order to create open spaces where people can exchange and meet different stakeholders. And something like, for example, Climate Lab is probably unique in the CEE region. It's a place where Vienna Business Agency is one of the initiators. It's hosted by Impact Hub Vienna and supported by different stakeholders from the public side, but also from the industry side. And here the approach is a multi-stakeholder approach. So we try to create the room where people can get on a table and talk about the solutions, the future needs. So it's more about leveraging spaces for people to get in exchange than matchmaking, I would say. And then, of course, the prime location of Vienna is something which is probably a good selling point whenever we go outside of Vienna, outside of Austria. It's a unique selling proposition to be able to sell a location which is very well connected throughout Europe and has also a lot of expertise hidden in the city. So the city itself is very committed to climate and sustainability topics, so there is a lot of expertise already given, which can be then again accessed by companies and startups.
Very nice. And yeah, we want to stay the most livable. Okay, we lost that one. But second place, we want to keep it though. And okay, thank you for that insight. So is there a success story, a very special matchmake you did through this network that you offer?
Not necessarily a matchmaking, but maybe one of the recent projects we've done within the Klima Biennale in last year is Biofabrik. I don't know if anyone of you heard about it, but it's an initiative by Vienna Business Agency together with Atelier Luma, where we try to see if there's a way to use unused local resources like waste, etc., in order to build new building materials. So throughout the 100 days of Klima Biennale, the task was to come up with solutions with ways, a new methodology in order to create a new building material out of clay and other waste material. Here, Wiener Linien was part of it, Struck, the famous bakery, was part of it, Wienerberger was part of it, and at the end of the day, they really created a material like, how do you say it in English? Ziegel? Bricks, yes, which look different, but at the end of the day, the final first product of the whole experiment was we were able to use them in the hospitality area of the Vienna Design Week. So, which, you know, it's something which started as an experiment and somehow unfolded into a real product at the end of the day, and is still available in the third district. So you can still go and see the furniture.
Nice.
But as I said, it's not really a matchmaking. I mean, we do have different formats in order to bring people together, like co-creation labs, where we work more on challenge-based solutions. But we see ourselves more as enabler rather than matchmaker, I would say.
And these enablers, they are so essential for us. And we sometimes underestimate the importance of the infrastructure. We are sort of relying on our companies. And for that reason, I would love to welcome two, I think, also enablers. For that reason, at least the companies behind, Anita Malli on stage, and Christoph Sandler. So I think it's important also to know that we do have our enablers in Austria who are providing railways, who are providing electricity, but also providing information. So the ORF would be an institution to name. I will read it. You have 450 sites, many of them exposed to climate risk. So for those who are thinking, so why would I care that the ORF is facing climate risks? It is important for us to stay informed, and you have a public responsibility also as an ORF. So how are you dealing with this? How you deal with the theme or with the topic climate change adaptation?
Actually, if there is really a risk to all those 430 sites, transmission sites, and more than 10 buildings, we will see, because at the moment our company is undertaking a climate risk assessment. Actually, there is an obligation with CSRD, with the EU taxonomy, that companies are aware of their climate risks. So they are obliged to take a look at their buildings, at their facilities, and just to have a better understanding of their risks. So tomorrow actually I have a meeting with our consultants who helped us to execute actually this assessment. But as a company ORF, we are actually, crises are kind of our business, so we are used to deal with crises and to anticipate huge risks. We are not officially, but we are kind of critical infrastructure for Austria. In case you have a blackout, you still can listen to the radio, you still can, I don't know if anyone has a TV at home, perhaps this wouldn't be possible for the customers, but still there is programming so that people can stay informed. So our infrastructure is quite high-end. We have UPS, so uninterruptible power solutions, systems, yeah, thank you, a dozen, batteries, power generators, so we are actually used to anticipate crisis and and to be resilient in terms of it's kind of in our DNA. From the one point of from the facility part of the company, and don't forget our journalists who report, who are in war zones, who are actually used to communicate crisis, and so it's part of the DNA of our company. And we will see, last year we were affected, actually. You probably remember the floods in Lower Austria, and we had one incident in our Landesstudio St. Pölten. So the Traisen, the river through St. Pölten, there was a high tide, and we actually had water entering the facility. So it was not such a big problem, such a big damage, but actually our colleagues from the facility management, our risk manager, they were very happy actually, as we said, okay, now we are doing this climate risk assessment just to have an overview, just to have an image how risky if there are any climate-related risks to all our transmission sites and to our buildings.
Thank you for that, and I will give some more insight also from my side. So we had a lot of shortcuts here, CSRD, EU taxonomy. These are all regulations that will asks companies to report their ES and G topics, environmental, social, and governance. And there was also a lot of discussion here. And I think climate change adaptation, which is part of this world, which asks companies to inform themselves about their climate risks they are maybe facing. This is a very smart one. So you can debate whatever you want about the other things. There is a lot of debate going on. But especially climate risk adaptation or climate change adaptation, for some companies, you said it, I like that one, it's in the DNA of so many companies. ÖBB, Wiener Linien, everyone who is doing electricity had that before. They do it on a daily basis, and they have to. Otherwise, the economy in Austria and also continentally couldn't rely on this infrastructure if they wouldn't manage their daily crisis, climate crisis, on an everyday basis. So thank you for that insight. I have one more question for you. With ORF Broad Reach, how do you raise awareness to this topic? We're doing it right now, we try our best, but how are you doing this, or how are you trying to reach awareness more publicly?
Yeah, I mean, our colleagues, we have 1,500 journalists in Austria working for ORF, in radio, TV, online as well, TikTok, our young colleagues doing TikTok, for example. So actually all those issues are always part of our programming. So and it actually, due to the crisis, as the crisis is more visible, let's say now today we talk about crisis, we as well talk about climate change, but now it's more visible. And if it's visible from this, actually then it's part of the news. So you always have a news event something happens like floodings. So it's obvious that there are changes that hasn't been like this, let's say 10, 15 years ago. And what they are doing, actually, they try to inform in a very objective way and to explain what the, as well explain those climate change basis knowledge, actually, and to try people to understand what is going on a, let's say, on a bigger scale. We have programming focuses called Mother Earth, doing this since 2014. So once a year there is an environmental topic, often on the issue of climate. The last years, for example, last year we had climate, it was about water. Interestingly, we had floods in our country, so there was a lot of information as well about these about the connection between climate change and we said in German Wasserkreislauf. So actually, the issue of water changes, droughts, floodings. So our journalists try to explain what's going on, but stay calm, stay objective, and this is very important because it won't help anyone to panic or to become hysteric. And this is actually, as a public service media, not our job. Our job is just to inform people, to stay calm, and to make people understand what's going on, and as well talk about solutions. And about adaptation, and not only about mitigation, but it's a big package, and and our journalists try to do their best, and I think they do a good job.
Thank you so much. So having one more comment on the need and why it's so necessary, and we didn't cover health today, and I will sort of skip it because I think this is something that we will feel, especially for older people. Heat can be a very critical health thing, or risking their health. But also it's very interesting, and not a lot of people know that insurance companies and banks, they already invest a lot of money in their own climate risk assessment tools. So why is that? Of course, they also prepare for it. For them, it's reality. And for them, having an object that will be insured or they invest in, they will first check where it's located, if there is any risk of flooding or whatever, and how much it will cost to insure a very risky object. So this is something that's very deep in our economy structures already. I like that one. So Christoph Sandler, thank you also for being here. And I will read it, as a public utility serving 23K households, that's a lot. How do you balance immediate community energy needs with long-term climate resilient investments? So we had that topic before, doing smart decisions. So you can tell us from practical experience.
Yeah. Thank you for the invitation to this event. It's my first time in Vienna in such a circle. And as a public utility, we have a clear responsibility. Once to our customers, and on the other hand side to our climate. As Stadtwerke Amstetten, I'm part of it since 3 years. We started with a clear vision, with a clear long-term based vision, and this is based on 3 pillars. The first is energy security, the second is life quality, and the third is clean energy future. Each of our business fields, this is our folder, you can check after this podium. Each of our business fields has to be located in one of our vision and one of our pillars. Balancing short-term energy needs, and on the other hand side, the long-term climate resilience isn't a contradiction for us. So the job is part of our strategy. And every investment we make has to serve both. On the one hand side, the reliability, and on the other hand side, sustainability. So that means designing our systems need to be robust, need to be flexible, and need to be rooted in our local value streams. So Stadtwerke is known for using companies, regional companies. Nate's company was the first one which was overseas, and I think it was a very good deal. Thank you. Taking out our district heating network, today it's nearly fired on 100% renewable energies, mostly from biomass or industrial waste heat. But this was a job that didn't happen overnight. It took us step-by-step upgrades and a deep understanding of the local resources. All above, it was necessary to build up partners which shared our way with our long-term vision. I think the question before was startups and what is important for startups. And I think this is one advice I follow every day. The first is stay curious and stay open. Some of the challenges we face as Stadtwerke Amstetten too is better solved by some startups like Nate ones, and they are looking at problems with completely open and fresh eyes. I think that is exactly what such companies as ours need: open eyes, open mind, and being curious to use this. And the second one is, I think Nate is probably sometimes used to hear a no. No, I'm not interested. No, it's not my topic. No, there is no budget for a new solution. And this is the second advice I would give to startups. A no isn't the end of a conversation. Often it's the beginning. And if a window closes, don't walk away. Another door will open. And often it's exactly this door which is causing a real breakthrough. And I think, our experience with the technology you made is very positive. And there was a big step for us in Amstetten, even with the parts of the politic, because it was the first time not just an Excel list, but a picture where the emissions are located. And this interactive map was extremely important to get a feeling what is emission, what can we do, and if we can do nothing currently, with which team we should have a look at these areas. And a second extremely interesting thing has been that we have the possibility to make a look into the future from now, but in the Vergangenheit. In the past, sorry. And we had the possibility to make a look into the past, because we decided in 2024, I think, and with the technology, it was possible to make a look back for 12 years. So 12 years ago, I haven't thought about the sustainability things of Amstetten. but I have been in the automotive industry. And this was very interesting because it was a knowledge I learned, which I used in the cooperation with Nate and his team, because he tried to tell me the stories about the simulations, and we tried to make the connects with the real measurements. And this is the same we used to do in the automotive industry. It's extremely expensive to make car crashes and so on, but it's much better to simulate it. But although it's necessary to compare the simulations with the reality. And I think Nate hasn't slept some nights because my emails have been in his team. So, long story short, it's a very interesting challenge we go, and I think it's the right way to get steps forward with the technology of tomorrow.
Thank you so much. And I think there is some explanation necessary, because we talked all night about making it visible how the climate will change. So the first, I will call it product, will be to see how will heat develop in Austria, like in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now, how many heat days would we have in 50 years? And how will like rain change and so on. But you also have a second product, that what you were talking about, making emissions visible. So maybe like some words to like few for the audience to make those two products, like explain it.
Yeah, so a lot of what we've done is really trying to help people understand like where, like in Amstetten, where are the hot spots? Because we often would see competitors that would do 100 square kilometers and say, okay, there's these many risks in this 100 square kilometers. But if you have a building that's one building in it, you don't really care about the other 99 square kilometers. You want to know what's going to happen to you. And that was very expensive before, because you really had to have an on-the-ground, ground truth assessment that would walk every part of it, which is colossally expensive. So for us, being able to use the satellites, hone in on one exact angle. In Austria and Germany and Switzerland, we can use the Kataster, which is already pretty specified and makes our work a lot easier. But on Amstetten, we literally could hotspot, these are where your emissions are coming from, and then we could just do general heat as well. So especially in the summer when Amstetten is worried about where retired people living, if the heat continues to go up, that's a major health risk. And so the city really should know where its problems are to continue to plan. And it was fun to put that in their hands. But Christoph is not kidding. His emails were hard. And I would say that's for those of you that would be debating on working with a newer company, please be hard with us. The new technology that's here needs to be refined by good minds. And we have some of the best ones here. Both are my co-founders are authors. I'm not. I'm just the guy with a bachelor's degree. But essentially, like, we need really good minds to refine the approach. So don't just run away saying, I don't think this works. Come work with us. It's much more fun that way, and you really get a lot closer to impact. But Suchi, I don't want to steal the show.
No, the questions that you asked were so interesting. All of the data that we've used in the past is all static. There's no way to relate, like you pointed out, what happened 10 years ago. You need to know the time series of where are we headed. Are we improving or not improving at all? What can we do to make the changes? And all of this is so critical, especially for planning for health, like you pointed out. It's not just the heat days, it's also plastics and water, it's the humidity, it's the floods. How do you protect all the people in the city against any of these disasters? And emission, which we measure, greenhouse gas emission, is pretty bad for people who have asthma and COPD. They can't breathe, when the air gets that bad. So you have to give warnings on the climate channel saying, please be aware, you have either extra pollen in the air or you can't breathe, be aware. So there's a lot that one can do, and communication of this information that you mentioned is so critical to give the right story and not to scare them, which is what Nate and you said. Because climate science, from the point of view of science, became very scary. Science has really failed to communicate to the public. And that's why we started a company, Josh and I. We were working in Cambodia, we worked in Belize, we worked in every part of the world doing all of these things. Nobody was listening to us. The only thing that made difference is money and investment. That's how we got into finance and climate tech, because people didn't care what we said. So science, in some ways, has to learn better communication. We have failed if we sort of don't give the right type of messaging. And that's why you guys are very critical, because messaging is so important.
That's true. And sum it up, that's very important to make climate topics more, I don't know, sexy, how would you call it? Yes, sort of, maybe. I don't know how to do that, actually, but I have one comment on the emails. He made you resilient. He definitely did. And so I hope you're more resilient for the next questions we have for you right now, because we already have 4 questions, I guess, from the audience.
4 questions from the audience, from the public audience in our rooms, please. Look, there's also a few coming here. I start with the people from the streams. The first one goes to Floodlight. Floodlight, and this is personal to you. What a great job are you doing? Who are the main potential next clients of you? Amstetten, Vienna, what will be the future?
Yeah, so we really came to Austria, to Vienna, because one of the things that Dudu had helped us understand is Austrians by nature are willing to try things. It's not so hierarchical that people won't actually experiment with something. So we definitely have seen that. It's not with everybody. I don't mean to stand up here shouting roses. There are a lot of people that are like, no, the way I've done this for 20 years is the only way forward. But most of the people that are trying to make their mark, that are ambitious and really want to use climate in a way that distinguishes that they saw it first, that they're going to get the promotion, that they're going to find this new market that ensures their profitability. That's what we bank on, and that's what we're most excited about, is the companies that are looking ahead, because there are a lot of skeptics. The president of my country is one of them. And it's really hard if you're arguing with somebody that strong to say anything other than look at the financial argument. And that's really what a lot of what we've done now is to say, put it in whatever political wrapping you want to, but at the end of the day, if you're losing money because you're not watching this risk metric, you're losing money and you don't deserve to be in your chair. So that's a big part of what we're trying to do for the market, and it's what Josh and Suchi, and they have publications that are taller than I am at all of the world's universities, but it's really saying if businesses and cities don't have a carrot, and most carrots are money, they're never going to change. So we're essentially just making that carrot a lot more understandable and a lot cheaper.
I go on with the questions. Who will use this data in the future? Governments, insurances, public administrations? And who are the providers of the data and the pictures? Is there a topic of data protection?
So, anybody who's interested in climate risk, these days, it's the banks, it could be real estate companies, it could be businesses like pharmaceutical companies. Everybody is interested in knowing risk. And they have to report on risk for their reputation. They do not want to have to face the barrage of questions if they were to get flooded or there's some kind of an incident that happens that impacts them. They need to be able to deal with it and be aware of it. So I would say it could be countries at large. Josh and I have worked with countries on this kind of a scale, warning them of risk, biodiversity loss, for example, looking at, like right now I'm working in Belize, looking at coral reefs, the loss in terms of tourism dollars that can happen to Belize in the next 10 years. So it could be any one of these sort of players. So there's a whole variety of actors who are interested in these products. Since we are providing data and risk metrics, everything in terms of metrics, they're able to use it much better, right? And we work with the clients in order to know what they want. We are not providing one straight solution that we made somewhere to you, because we do need to have to give you some intelligence on what exactly are we telling you, how would you use it, what are the implications. So that's the big challenge on how to get this right such that it's in the hands of people who want to use it with the right information, the right metrics, and the right set of actions.
And the only thing I'd throw in real quick, just as a fun aside, is one of our first customers in Austria, they didn't hire us to look at their own footprint. They wanted to see their closest competitor to see if they were better than them. And when we're agnostic, like we'll help people figure that out, but understanding that competitive environment was hilarious because they were like, I have some rough parts that I know I need to fix for my business. Am I better than them though? That was the angle. And we're like, sure, we'll figure it out.
And I might add to it, it's also a question of your supply chain, because often you don't only have to figure out your own emissions, but also the emissions you have in your supply chain. And this is also a risk assessment to know to which suppliers you should have, take a close look at. And talking about climate adaptation, so this is a very interesting question we had, because thinking of it, who should be the person or who should be the facility, whatever, who is doing it? Should it be the public sector? Or right now we do have companies, like each company, each having to do this analysis. So I would love to see more, like you did, more public involvement, and that someone is doing the analysis and maybe brings it to the companies, like not the other way around. But right now we have the situation because of regulations we do have or do not have not. That's another discussion. For the moment, we will stick to the third question.
We stick to the third question, and this is like in the moment the last one from the digital auditorium, and then we come to our friends here and our guests here. This is to Mrs. Malli from ORF, because they say ORF could ORF play an important role in the future in regularly reporting about these developments?
Yeah, actually this happens already. Because I mean, everything we do is actually, there is an ORF law, and we are obliged to do some things. Even Dancing Stars, you will see it on Friday. We are obliged as well to entertain people in Austria, and we are as well obliged to report on environmental issues. Nature protection, for example. So we've been doing this for the last years. Now actually it's accelerating, it's becoming more, because it's more, it's more, the pressure is much higher, the events are they are growing actually. Yes, and from my point of view, public service media is playing a crucial role in the future. And as I said, 1,500 journalists in all over Austria. And from my point of view as well, the regional studios play a very important role, because once you have events, for example, you have the extreme weather events, you have it in the regions. And we are in the regions. We are, for example, in Vorarlberg, in Tirol, in all Austrian regions. And in the regions, you as well have the solutions to climate crisis, to climate change, the mitigation projects, actually. You have agriculture, farmers fighting, for example, against droughts and whatever. And you have innovation as well. So, yes, public service media such as ORF play a crucial role. We are doing it now and probably in the future much more. As we saw, for example, with the pandemics. What are you doing when you have a lockdown? You switch on the TV. And actually, yeah, so if there is a crisis, it's good to have strong public service media.
Thank you so much.
Hello, good evening. My name is Nico Formanek, and one of the things I do, I'm in the city council in St. Pölten. The first thing I want to add about fall, we have clearly proven that neither the ÖBB nor St. Pölten had done anything to prepare what happened to them. It was called a 30 years flooding. Now we are already selling it communication-wise. The mayor told us it's a 2000 year and it will never happen again. So we know nobody did anything the last 20, 30 years, and it's a joke to say anybody was prepared. Now to my questions. Will this data that you obviously collect and predictions you make in any way be possible to reach civil organizations, activists, people who are dealing with these problems in their real life, with houses flooded and their futures destroyed? Because we will have to come to a point where politicians and planners will be legally held responsible for whatever decision they're taking now. And I can only tell you, you know it already, we had one of these instances. I got hold of ESA data to St. Pölten 2 years ago, where they found out that St. Pölten is the hottest place in Austria with 55 degrees Celsius centigrade on the surface, thank you, surface. And measured down to 10 meters by 10 meters by the European Space Agency. And the reaction of when I did a piece in the Gemeinderat about it, they told me I should stop telling fake news. They have called ESA and told them that they don't know what they're doing. So for any person, if you want to change the politics of climate policy, you will have to give the people who are interested the chance to have data with which you can nail down politicians who are stealing this country and this environment for the next generations without any consequences, legally or financially. So my question is there any plan? I know you want to live, you're a company, you want to make profit, obviously, that's up to you. Will there any be a flow down or possibility to get this data into the hands of the people who really need it right now? Those are the 2,500 households in St. Pölten and around which have no houses till now.
Thank you.
So there are many ways of thinking about this problem. One is we do have some of our products that are kind of free, meaning people can go navigate, figure out what they want to look at, and look at their climate risk. It's not climate risk for today, but climate risk for the future, for the next 5 years, next 10 years, and so on. Remember, in terms of scientific uncertainty, my uncertainty increases as I go beyond 10 years. Nobody, not even God, can predict the kinds of changes that are going to happen given where we are. But, this is one of the things that, I was talking with Josh even this afternoon, that on a world basis, it's not just rich countries like Austria. We should be able to do it for Indonesia, for Cambodia, for Belize, for Nicaragua. Give them some sense of what are the risks that they can expect in a certain location. Maybe not at a very fine household scale, but at a town scale. So they can know and equip themselves with the knowledge. Nothing is better than local participation and local activism. I strongly believe that everybody needs to know to act on their own behalf. So you're absolutely right. And yes, and so we are, one of the products that we're making for climate risk is exactly that. It would be anybody across the globe can go click on a cell and they should be able to see it. Then you may ask me, I'm an agricultural farmer. What are my risks? Am I going to have a drought? Am I going to have a flood in the next 5 years or 10 years? What is the distribution tell you? And we could sort of make a prediction on that with all the caveats that this may not happen, but this is what the science is telling us, right? So we were sort of thinking there are more than, how many hazards did we have, Josh? 38. We have 38 different hazards. Obviously, we need to focus on the ones that cost the most money and most lives. From the point of, I've worked with Red Cross. Red Cross is only concerned about loss of lives, but businesses are concerned about loss of money. So we need to sort of find a play where we protect both. Floods are the worst disasters followed by wildfires. And sudden disasters like earthquakes, tsunamis, forget it. Those are catastrophic.
One additional answer for this. I think data is super. But I think it's better to have a picture and a story, because this is what people want to hear and this is what people understand. I talked about the Excel list. We had a clear study with 250 pages, but one picture was able to change the politics. And so I think a story and a picture based on data, this is the experience we want to make.
So the way that we were sort of thinking of doing it, and I let Josh speak, is People can produce their own report. So they can go click, say, I want to know this, and it makes an official looking report. This is something that we've done all across the world. People love it. And sometimes I'm giving you the risk, but people have a different perception of risk. So this is economic behavior that's become so important to predict. We don't know what people are facing. What is the risk they see? They sometimes overvalue some risk, sometimes they undervalue something. So I want them to go in and put on sliders what their risk tolerance is, and the reality will match. And you can see the gap between the two, and that provides information to a town planner or a politician, if he's a good politician. Yes. Older people vote, so I'm sure that's true here too.
I have to add a little something because I'm ex-ÖBB. So some of these analyses, they started like 2024, first time, and they foresee the future. So the idea for ÖBB and for other companies, so I don't talk for ÖBB, but the idea is to make future investments based on these informations. So if you do a huge investment calculating 3 billion, that you will also think about, like when you do it in this very special area, what climate risks will attend in this area. But there is a possibility that also governments or local governments will adopt data like for geoinformation systems, so it's technical right now. But there are possibilities, and this will be the future, and yeah, we should work together on that perspective.
That's a good question. Adam Resting with LGT. As a climate investor, thank you. We love data. Understanding you have, give us some more technical insight. You have two products. You have GHG gas emission footprinting, and I get it, how you can do this from satellite data. And then you have a second product, which is prediction for flooding, wildfires. How would satellite imagery help you do that, other than forecasting from the past?
So one of the things that we sort of talked about is there are 3 different ways of doing, forecasting. Obviously, we've always used the past in order to make predictions for the future. So you mentioned 1 in 100-year flood or 1 in 2,000-year floods. Those are no longer what is happening. It's 1 in 1-year flood even, right? Because that's the catastrophic nature of what's happening with climate change. What the IPCC predicted would happen in the next 10 years in terms of frequency of floods, disappearance of snow, all of these things is happening right now. Those predictions are going with the idea of 1.5 degrees warming, 4.5 degrees warming, 6.5 degrees warming, and 8.5. 1.5 is out of the window because the Earth is already warmed by 2 degrees more. So that means right now we are looking at 4.5. The medium scenario of climate change is happening right now across the globe. Hottest span of summers in places like India, even in Las Vegas, more than 10 years, over 10 days of 110 degrees centigrade. You can't even stand, roads are melting, right? It is that bad. And floods beyond control. Happened in Europe, happened in Germany, happened in Austria. You see what it is all about. So the question is, the second kind of model that we have is these things which are based on distributions, our idea of prior distributions. So we use a lot of things based on normal distribution. That's no longer true. So we have to use what's called a Monte Carlo simulation and develop new type of math in order to get better and better predictions. The last part is the AI prediction. And AI, as I said before, requires a lot of training data in order to make predictions. We are not there yet, but that's one of the hopes on how to train these models to make the predictions better and better. Right now, we are able to predict at a very coarse scale, not at the scale of your neighborhood. And so we have to get better giving the local context. Geography really matters. Proximity to the ocean, proximity to mountains, proximity to river. There's so many features that are so relevant in making these predictions. And we are getting there.
Any more questions? No? I will have one last question before we wrap it up. So this is maybe something you all can answer me, and I would love to have a short answer. because we talked a lot about the economic risks. We sort of had a little in between discussion about the social impact, but I want to look closer on it. How do companies integrate social impact into climate resilient strategies? I love it as a finisher question. So we will start here, if it's okay for you.
Okay.
He's the expert. He comes from a town representing the social impact.
You are the expert. I just talk about it. The idea of choosing between profit and climate action does not really fit to our model. Because we are not focused, as I told before, on short-term profits or political pressure. Our goal is long-term, and long-term reliability and affordable energy for our customers. Right now we are facing the challenge to modernizing our drinking water systems. Next month is the Drinking Water Day on the 13th. And this means a lot of money being invested in these projects. Now we are building up new reservoirs for our drinking water system, and we try to fix them and try to operate them with solar energy. And it will be the first drinking water systems completely operated with solar energy, with electric battery storages. And even in a blackout, we want to run them completely with solar and energy storage current. So when risk maps show that we have to invest in stronger infrastructure, we see that as a necessary step and not just a cost. And this is, I think, as a city-owned company, one big advantage. It's not the short-term profits, because we haven't to pay the profits on different shareholders. This is an advantage I think we have, and we want to do it for today and tomorrow's generations.
Wow, okay, not easy to compare with that answer right now, but I will give it a try. Would you have like a last sentence for me on the social impact for the climate resilient strategy?
Yeah, actually, we would go for trainings. The point is that we are doing resilient trainings for our staff for, let's say, I think 20 years. So it was really, when it started, when resilience training started in companies, we were one of the first companies to introduce it. And actually, we are not doing it right now, but I think it's something that comes step by step. When a society has issues with the pandemics, with all the consequences, then it's normally that when you have a resilience training, you talk about these issues and challenges for our staff, for our colleagues. With climate resilience, with our staff, I think it's the biggest challenge for our young colleagues, because they are the most affected. So I'm sure our trainers will adapt the program soon, but actually at the moment we are not implementing it as a big strategy. I think those things come step by step, and as climate changes very slowly, like we are a frog in a glass and even don't noticing it. So do the trainings as well adapt and change very slowly, and as well take into consideration climate resilience and the necessity to talk about those challenges, and especially with the young colleagues.
Thank you so much. So I would love to have one last answer from Floodlight before we wrap it up. Social impact.
Yeah, on the social impact side, I would say real quick, look for the people that are saying things in fact. Nico, your example of people that are just shouting bogus things, then running away, we're more than happy to put our name behind yours when this happens again, so that we're certainly not antagonistic to politicians, but we are antagonistic to people who lie. And we are very much pro the data should rule. So that's a big part of what we do. And I would say that the best social impact, and honestly a good example for the OAG, is smart people can work across boundaries even when our countries are maybe on different paths. And so understanding a lot of the same struggles we have in the US and here, I think that's the best social impact, is when you can empower people who vote, who pay taxes, who raise families, who care about what's happening here. And that's honestly why the three of us really got started, is we all kind of left more lucrative careers money-wise, but we wanted to make a difference because we saw a lot of bogus data out there. And the only way to fix it is if people like you guys demand better.
Thank you so much. And I think we did a difference here because we had some really not easy terms explained here in a very good and proper way. And thank you all for being here, for taking my questions in a very, very good way. And we have some insights, like we covered it all from NASA technology to social impact. And I think the awareness we hopefully have given is climate change is here. It's an issue we have right now. The damages we are sort of experiencing on an everyday basis right now. So it's very important that organizations, they take responsibility and they ask themselves for economical reasons, but also maybe for social reasons and society-based reasons. Am I resilient? So I think that's it, and thank you very much for being here. And I will give,
And
you'll take over.
I can follow. Thank you so much, you. We'll use the possibility to thank all of you here on this panel. Thanks, Katharina, for a great moderation. I would definitely say, perhaps, I think also thank you for her. It was really great. Thank you. Thank you, RF, thank you, Floodlight, thank you, Amstetten, Vienna, everybody who was here. Thank you, all of you. And thank you again, all of you, you are here, still with us. Thank you for all the questions. It was very interesting. Like always, in the end, all the questions are coming in more frequently as in the beginning. But we have a solution for you. There is on the YouTube channel of the Austrian American Society, there is the stream to watch it afterwards, if you were late or if you're interested afterwards to watch it again. All the listeners and the audience from FM4, I would like to also to invite to ask questions, to send us questions, and I hope it was interesting for you. Come stay with us or come to us here in the city of Vienna the next time. Thank you all for coming and have a nice evening. And now let's have a cold drink. I hope so. Bye-bye.